setting us up with the facts now. Even NBC is covering this. Here's their headline. Joe Biden's brand is being tested like never before. Controversies centered on Biden's family have become fodder for GOP attacks that cut at the bedrock of the president's longtime political appeal. Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor, former Utah congressman, and I should say chairman of the Oversight Committee. So what is your reaction to what the Oversight Committee is unearthing?
This is exactly where they needed to go. They needed to follow the money, and the money it's crystal clear. One of the things that's really interesting about this is the money from these two Russian oligarchs in particular. First of all, Barack Obama and that Biden-Obama administration, they did not sanction the two oligarchs who are involved in pushing money that ends up in Biden bank accounts. Isn't that a coincidence? And by the way, money starts flowing into the Bidens and their companies 6 days before Russia invades Crimea. Do we think that's a coincidence? Ultimately, these people invested something like $200 million to be put under management by Hunter Biden and his business partner, Devon Archer. So the money is high. I mean, it is flowing. It is there. It is demonstrable, and it's crystal clear that this is not just smoke. There's a real fire burning here.
So, Jason, because you brought up that invasion by Russia into one of its neighbors, and there's currently an invasion by Russia into one of its neighbors, I have to ask: should the Bidens be being looked at for current expenditures and bank records?
Yeah, I do believe so. I mean, it's highly suspicious that the administration has not sanctioned the energy industry. Just so happens that, that's where Hunter Biden is involved in. They have done sanctions on future production within Russia. But why is it that the two oligarchs involved in this were never sanctioned? And Joe Biden told the world that he was putting the most stringent sanctions ever on Russia, except the people who ended up doing business and that he met with in a restaurant in Washington, D.C. after putting money into Hunter Biden's businesses.
Oh, it's more than inconvenient, the truth. Social media users now are mocking Joe Biden for his interview with the Weather Channel. One says, "Oh, is Joe Biden a scientist now?" Another with, "The big guy sits for real tough interviews." And this one, "Well, this makes sense since Joe Biden called Hunter's business partners over 20 times to discuss the weather." Jason.
Yeah, you hear Dan Goldman, the representative out of New York, come out of the meeting say, "Oh, they talked about the weather." It wasn't the proximity that Joe Biden had to NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's not why they were after Joe Biden. Why was Joe Biden involved and engaged? Because he was the vice president of the United States, and he went on to become the president of the United States, not because of the weather.
Well, and the branding that people are talking about and has come up as a pay-to-play investigation point in all of this didn't come from anybody in the Biden family except for Joe Biden. Like, who else would have had a brand big enough to make deals, allegedly? Jason.
Yeah, look, Hunter Biden lives with his dad right now. I mean, he's living on the taxpayer dime at the White House, for goodness sake. He's at 53 years old. Joe Biden had proximity and he had power. And the concern is it wasn't just that the Biden family, the brother, the son, the grandkids, somebody who's a Haley Biden, who's a school counselor, they're all cashing in on this. And then they have the gall to look in the camera with in a straight face and say, "Oh, Joe Biden wasn't involved," except that there are voicemails, emails, pictures, meetings, phone calls. And even Eric Schwerin is going to the White House more often than a lot of cabinet secretaries do.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And you wonder when the tipping point for an impeachment inquiry, at least that part of it, will begin. The end of this month marks 2 years since Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal, and now a new report finds United States taxpayers paid $2 billion to groups linked to the brutal Taliban regime. That's how they used our money. Another $1.7 billion remain available for, quote-unquote, possible disbursement. This news coming just days after we heard testimony from the Gold Star families of the 13 service members who were killed in that bombing at Kabul airport nearly 2 years ago. That was all part of the Biden plan to pull out. Wow. They say the Biden administration is still lying to those families.
I just hear one after another these Democratic congressmen that are literally just shielding Biden from any wrongdoing or any fault when it comes to what happened in Afghanistan. The fact that this is a partisan issue is ridiculous. And as the parents said yesterday, these guys need to be held accountable.
You know, Jason, when I talk about the situation with Biden's decision making, he had generals around him, we know from reporting contemporaneously then, who were telling him something different. And he chose to go another way. And it cost the lives of those Americans and many Afghanis who had helped us on the ground during the war.
Yeah, Joe Biden's personal fingerprints are all over this, and I feel my heart goes out. I can't even imagine those Gold Star families and people who served in Afghanistan, who fought, who put their lives on the line, lost limbs, who go through PTSD, all of those things, fighting for the United States of America. The way Joe Biden handled that, and that these people still feel like they're being lied to, that's just compounded by the cigar, the Special Inspector General for Afghan Reconstruction, who does some amazing work. When I was chairman, we held quarterly hearings with him. He's exceptional in what they do. And to find out that there are billions of dollars in equipment that's left in the hands of the bad guys, and now there's still billions of dollars not going to homeless in the United States, not going to our veterans. You know, Joe Biden has the gall to come to Utah on Thursday to visit a veterans facility. But you know what? Billions of dollars is going to the Taliban, not that facility here in Utah.
Jason, thank you for being in focus. Always good to see you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.